LearnBiz LLC is an entrepreneur coaching agency which customizes solutions to help businesses grow and thrive in an ever-changing economy.
You are listening to LearnBiz, the podcast, where we share an entrepreneur's journey and allow you to obtain insight into their path to success. We're here to educate other entrepreneurs about the ins and outs of running a small business, and we will provide you with tips and resources that can help you along your entrepreneurial journey.
Music selection, Midnight Silhouette by Devon, Wright.
Thanks for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.
Hi, Nequosha. How are you?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for joining us on LearnBiz, the podcast. So we're going to get right into it. Nequosha, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Ooh, I don't think you have that much time. But anyway, my name's Nequosha, which is the same Q sound as in quote. If you can say quote, you can say Nequosha. I am a
Nequosha.
business. Yes, get it. I am a business and intellectual property attorney. I am based in where Mickey Mouse lives in Orlando, Florida, but I service clients throughout the United States, again, with their intellectual property and business needs. For the most part, I always try to say I help people protect their income producing assets so they won't be robbed, and they can have what's rightfully theirs.
Absolutely. And as a fellow business owner, I truly can relate to this concept. And I'm hoping that folks are listening as we go through this conversation. So tell us a little bit about what intellectual property is and in terms of what you do.
Okay, so intellectual property is the protection of the ideas that you manifest in some way, that came from your brain, your authorship, your creation. It's your baby. It's literally your intangible or tangible baby. And it can be something like we like to refer to them as a patent, a trademark, a copyright, trade secret. It's something that you created, and therefore you should be able to have exclusivity to the things that you create and earn an income from it.
Yes, and in terms of the process of going through this trademark or copyright, what are some steps that folks have to take in order to get this done?
Well, I have an easy framework that I try to teach to people, and it goes a little something like this. You create it, you then protect it, and then you share it. Oftentimes, people will create it and then they'll immediately jump to sharing it and then think about protecting it later. And oftentimes, they may be a little too late because you have introduced to the market your ideas and your business assets, and someone has beat you to protection. And most people think, oh, that's not going to happen to me, until it happens to them. And then they have a
Right.
problem. So usually you create it, whether if it's a trademark or a source identifier for your goods. Then with something like that, you need to go to the trademark office, which is at the uspto.gov, and then
Okay.
you follow the prompts there. I highly do not recommend you try to DIY a trademark application. I don't care how much $99.99 $99 trademarks you find on Google. You will
Right.
most likely end up with a practitioner like me to fix your problem, or better yet, to start over, and you wasted time and you lost that filing date. So one of the most things you can do is seek out someone in the space who has been practicing, and not only someone who can say, I can help you file your application, but I can
Right.
help you defend your application in the event that it doesn't go through with the examining attorney. Even the USPTO will tell someone who doesn't have an attorney, we highly recommend you
Right.
get an attorney, because the likelihood, I think it's something over 50% of applications that are not filed with an attorney are not successful.
Oh, wow. What are some examples of, trademark infringement issues or copyright infringement that are most common for you?
Most common for me is people not filing when they should, meaning they began using an asset and introduced it to the public, and other people have saw and did their research and saw that it wasn't filed. And
Right.
the way priority works with the USPTO is the first to file, not the first to create. So
Oh, wow.
no, it is not the first to create, it's the first to file. So whoever files first, automatically has superior rights over any subsequent filer. So you would then be on the defensive and not offensive. And we all know that offense wins the games in this
Oh,
world.
yes. Oh,
Okay. I
yes.
know we got some NFL people or football people, and they'll tell you defense wins the game. But when it comes over here to filing for IP,
Right.
offense wins the games.
So how did you get into this business of being on the offense is what I want to know. What led you down this path?
Well, essentially, I've always had an interest in technology style things. And when I was in undergrad, I took a contract technology class and I fell in love with the law at the same time. So I try my best to merge the two. And the
Right.
best way for me to do that would be to operate in intellectual property so I could still enjoy both sides of the coin that I liked.
And so how did you get started in terms of like the bare bones basics? Like what was it that caused you to start your firm?
Well, I started my firm in 2013, but prior to going to law school, I worked for our government. I was a government person, and I left there to go to law school. And for a little bit, I started my firm. I was under the mentorship of General Counsel on Universal and Disney. So I learned a
Mm.
lot of intellectual property from one of the original general counsels there. So my knowledge base goes deep. And
Wow.
I tell that story because most people say, well, how do you know what you know? Because I learned from one of the best. So there is that. And then number two, once I left the government in 2000 at the top of summer to
Okay.
reactivate my practice. So I've been back in private practice for a little while now. So what made me do it was because I had some health challenges and I needed to restructure my life and do some things differently in order to live.
So what has being an entrepreneur allowed you to be able to do in terms of your lifestyle and the way that you operate your business?
Well, being an entrepreneur has afforded me the opportunity that if I needed to have doctor's appointments, I didn't have to worry about PTO. If I needed
Ooh,
to
yeah.
spend time with my child and go to school activities, I didn't have to worry about a docket dictating whether or not I would actually be able to come to my child's lunch events or
Right.
festival events. And if you are a parent, you understand that those things you never get to date until 1 week, and I don't know what job is gonna
Right.
allow you to take off with only 1 week notice, and a judge whose docket is already set weeks in advance is not gonna hear, "Counsel, you need a continuance for what?" No. And then
Right.
trying to get coverage from your coworkers as a government attorney, as a former government attorney, it's good and great, but sometimes when you're short-staffed, as most government agencies are, it's very hard to do those finagling that you need to do.
So, if you were to give some advice to someone who wants to start out as an intellectual property attorney, they want to have their own firm, what
Mhm.
are some things that you would tell them to do first?
Read the ID manual from top to bottom. It's available for free at the uspto.gov. Become very familiar with the rules and how things turn. This is not just simply filling out a piece of paper. You definitely have to be able to explain to your client why their mark is descriptive, why their mark is distinctive, why their mark
Right,
shouldn't be filed. You need to be able to ask the questions that needs to be asked before they even turn over the money for you. And you need to be
right,
able to confidently explain to a client the likelihood of success of their trademark filing going through, even with you. Even with you, yes, you may know some tools and tricks on how to phrase things and how to do things
right,
on the application, but there is no 100% guarantee that the filing is going to go through. But if you
right,
familiarize yourself with the rules, I had a judge always tell me, "Counsel, what does the rule say?"
right,
What does the rule say? Because that's what's going to dictate what you do and what you can't do. What does the rule say? When you go ask a question to a person who's already in the space, if they're a mentor, a good mentor, they're going to ask you, what have you done first? And you should already be prepped to say, I've looked at this rule, I looked at this case, I've done this, I've done that. You need to be able to show some form of an effort before hey, well, you come to me and just say, hey, what does this mean? Or how can I do this? I need to know
right.
that you did something, right?
Absolutely. And so when I think about how things have been going right now with the pandemic and we're still kind of living in a virtual world, How has that impacted your practice?
Well, my practice was always virtual. So this didn't impact me at all. And I am actually happy that it has happened because that means other practitioners are actually embracing a lot of the technology that has been
Right,
available. And it's one of the best things, in my opinion, that's ever happened to our practice of law. I know
right.
there are a lot of colleagues of mine who don't feel that way. They want to go back to waiting in courtrooms for 20-minute hearings and 8-hour days. But nobody wants to go back to that. So I'm happy
Right,
to say that as a participant on one of the rules committees for the state of Florida, there are some rules coming down that we're trying to make to be permanent as it relates to certain hearings. Yes, I'm in private
ooh,
practice, but I am still involved in the governing agency
right,
that controls what I do, and I highly encourage law students or other colleagues of ours who are in the state of Florida, whatever state you're in, to become active in the bar, because that is how you affect change. You have to
right.
be involved. You can't complain if you're not participating in the process.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I'm excited to see some of these changes because for me, this virtual practice life has been very, very beneficial.
Hmm.
And I'm just curious in terms of, the way that you see your practice progressing. What do you see next for your business?
I see my business going more towards, of course, I'm a flat fee, so I am not an hourly firm. So I'm already, beyond certain things that other colleagues may do. But I
Right.
see myself going into more structured subscriptions, to where
Mm,
I am doing subscription services for legal. I think that
okay.
that is where the future is. And if you want some more research on that, you definitely need to get in front of it now, because
Yes.
that is where things are going. People are not into the hourly rate. $20 here, $10 here, nickel and diamond, because a lot of times things are going virtual. So you can't charge for travel back and forth to the courtroom or
Right.
waiting for this. So you have to get with it or get lost.
Yeah, and I definitely see that. I'm one of the proponents of let's move to some more virtual processes. It's more beneficial. So, when we think about the practice of law, we always go back to law student level. What types of things would you say to law students, right, in terms of
Mhm.
their preparation if they want to go into intellectual property and business?
The key thing I would tell you is you can't know IP without knowing business. You may know business without knowing IP, but you cannot know IP without knowing business, because they
Right.
are intertwined. And more likely than not, you're going to have to know how to structure certain contracts and understand the rules of the game. So if you want
Right.
to know IP, you need to go business too. You need to have a solid foundation there. And then another thing that I would say is, I always tell this to my mentees: 99.9% of legal jobs are not advertised. They are all relationship based. So if you would like some type of advancement in our profession, you need to befriend people now and have a
Mhm.
good, solid follow up system. But what does that look like? Okay, get a spreadsheet. Write the person's name down. Write the day that you contacted them. Set a day in your calendar to follow back up with them in a week, 3 weeks, 2 weeks,
Right.
and take notes. Write handwritten notes. You can go to Dollar Tree, get a set of note cards. They sell stamps at Dollar Tree. They sell stamps at the post office or Office Depot. Even Walmart sells stamps. You can get stamps. I'm saying this to say, put something in the mail. If someone
Right.
gave you a bit of advice, if you met somebody at a networking thing, they're going to get bombarded with emails. We get countless emails. Emails are great. But you know what I'm going to remember? The person who took the time to wrote me a handwritten thank you for following up, or thank you for doing this. That's the person that's going
Right.
to be top of mind for me if I get an email from a judge that says, hey, do you know someone? I'm looking for this. Or if you're in a networking group, Sandy, you know exactly what I'm talking about. How many emails we
Right.
get that say, hey, I'm looking for a
Way.
paralegal. Hey, I'm looking for an assistant. Do you guys know
Right.
anybody?
All the time. Absolutely. All the time.
And that means
So
they didn't advertise that. So, yeah.
true, and many times those positions are never really advertised. I mean, ultimately, when they become advertised, position is already pretty much set
Mm,
up for somebody, but out there. So how do people reach you? Because I'm sure after they listen to this interview, they're going to be like, I need to talk to Nequosha. I'm a law
yes.
student. I need to
Come
speak to her. I'm an
on.
attorney. I need to speak to
Come
her, get my intellectual
on.
property in order. How do they reach you?
You can reach me by going to Instagram. I spend a good portion of my time over there, and my Instagram name is Esquire44. So that's where you can find me. And if you have a question about business and you want me to answer it, be sure to check out my YouTube channel. It is called The Business Lawyer Said. You can just Google it. I'll come up. I do a Q&A session, and I will also be transitioning to podcasting. So The Business Lawyer Said will be locating on one of your favorite podcasting players soon and very soon.
Thank you so much, Nequosha. So I'm going to ask you to leave us with some final thoughts. Your entrepreneur mind as an attorney, what are some final words that you want to leave to the listeners?
My final words would be treat people nice, have kindness, be compassionate, and understand that you don't know what that person had to go through to get to you. Whether that was dealing with traffic, whether that was oversleeping, whether that was having to find a sock for their kid who lost the sock on the way to school. Just be kind and have grace. That'll go a whole lot further in any profession.
Nequosha, it was an absolute pleasure having you on LearnBiz, the podcast today. Thank you so much, and we hope to have you back again soon.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Music selection, Midnight Silhouette by Devon, Wright.
Thanks for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.